Welcome to my YouTube channel Project MIS. My name is Sumit Kumar Ambastha, and in this video we are going to talk about Scrum Team. First, let's understand what is a Scrum Team. When we are working in an agile methodology and following the Scrum framework, then there is a group of people who are working for a common objective, common goal with full of dedication and fully focused approach to deliver value to the customer, and that the team is called Scrum Team. So in this video, first we will be talking about the characteristics of a Scrum team and the three pillars of a Scrum team: product owner, Scrum Master, and the development team. Scrum team, any of the project which is following agile methodology, Scrum framework, and the team is working towards delivering some value to the customer, the team is referred as a Scrum team. When the team is being formed or the team is already formed, certain characteristics has to be followed, certain characteristics represent the team that needs to be understood. So let's start with the Scrum team size. So in general, the team size, what is suggested is 10 or fewer people. So that provides a good combination of a team where all the time box activity for each of the Scrum ceremony can be followed. And if we are in a situation where the Scrum team sizes gets bigger than 10, then in that scenario we should definitely think about splitting one Scrum team into two smaller Scrum team. It is easier to follow with two smaller Scrum team rather than working with one bigger Scrum team. Cross functional team. Cross functional team is about making sure that team has all the skill set which is required for the development of the project. Let's assume we are working for a project, and in that particular project, for backend we need Java, for front end we need Angular, and for database we need Oracle as a skill technical stack. So we have to make sure that the team composition who are working for the development, they are having these technical stacks as their skill set, so we don't have any dependency on anyone else outside the team, so that the team can work independently and can make sure that all the deliverables are met. No sub teams. Scrum team itself, this word itself suggests that we are talking about one particular team. So when we talk about a Scrum team, everything is common among the Scrum team members. There is no sub team concept, and there should not be any hierarchy concept in the Scrum team. Whatever information has to be discussed, has to be cascaded, has to be discussed among the group members, among the team members. There should not be any hierarchy or sub team concept introduced here. Self organized. Self organized, it's a very simple and very meaningful word for a Scrum team. If you see the explanation, it says internally decide who does what, when, and how. So the Scrum team should have the capability. They have discussed the business objective with product owner. They have understand what is that work for which they are working, and they have understand the requirement, that they have discussed the story during the grooming, they have discussed the story during the sprint planning, so they are very well aware what is that they are going to deliver. Now it is up to the Scrum team, they have to decide what needs to be developed, when it has to be developed, and how it has to be developed. So they should be able to plan everything among themselves. That is what is referred by self organized team. Scrum team is accountable. Scrum team is accountable for creating valuable sprint. There is no independent accountability. The whole Scrum team is responsible for the delivery for which the team is working. If there is a success, review is very good, customer appreciates, everything is fine, the whole Scrum team is responsible and should get the appreciation. If any of the task is missed, we are failed, in that scenario also the whole Scrum team is accountable. Why? I understand that there can be scenario where the ultimate root cause is coming from one individual, but Scrum team is based on the pillar of empiricism, where we are following transparency. We are inspecting the transparency throughout the process, and wherever we are having any gap, we have the adaptation in our culture to make sure that that issue is resolved. So if there is any issue which is coming from one individual and we have passed the whole scrum team sprint cycle and we could not rectify, then somewhere the process is missing, and that is why we are into that situation. So even though it is coming from one individual, the root cause, but still the whole scrum team is failed. So whatever is the outcome, irrespective of the outcome, scrum team is accountable for the output. Let's talk about product owner, who is one of the key pillar of Scrum team. We have certain characteristics listed here for product owner, and we'll go one by one each of them. So first one, voice of customer. Product owner is the face of customer. He faces the customer, he understands the business objective, he understands the requirement, and then that information is disseminated to the Scrum team members, Scrum Masters, and everyone. So whatever is the expectation from customer is passes on through product owner. Product owner is the representative of a Scrum team to the customer. So that's why he is considered voice of customer. Product owner define the done criteria. The done criteria is a list of parameters which will be evaluated when developer says that the story is completed. If I am a developer and I say that the story is completed, then the parameters mentioned under done criteria will be evaluated one by one to make sure that if all the parameters are meeting the expectation. If they are meeting the expectation, then done criteria confirms that this story is good to be considered as done. It means it is completed. So that's what done criteria. So who define the done criteria? Product owner is the one who define the done criteria. But the key point here, which is important to understand, is that done criteria is not something which is independently defined by product owner. Product owner is accountable, responsible to define it, but at the same time, the common call with the Scrum Master and the development team should be there to discuss and understand based on the technical stack what all should be the part of the criteria. Optimizes the total cost of ownership. This is about driving the cost of the project. Scrum Master, sorry, product owner has understood the requirement from business. They have listed down those requirements in product backlog. They understand the priority. They know how many people are working for the project. They know what is the priority, what has to be developed first, what can be delivered after that, and so on. So they have the full control in their hand to drive the cost of the project. Builds and grooms the product backlog. So product owner is the one who is developing the product backlog, and they are discussing that backlog, what product owner has written with the Scrum Master and development team, and grooming that story product backlog, so that more grooming is done, it gets closer to the deliverable, so we can avoid mismatch, we can avoid issues in the backlog. Product owner conduct requirement walkthrough, grooming and participate in review. So conduct requirement walkthrough. So he will be having call with customer, understanding the process, what is the requirement from customer, what is the as is state, what is the to be state. Based on the discussion, They capture the requirement in the form of backlog. They groom that requirement. Grooming means having the discussion with the Scrum Master, development team on the backlog items and refine it in terms of writing the backlog so that when you read it, it makes more sense to everyone. That is what is called grooming. And participate in review. So whenever there is a review session happens, product owner also participate in the review session and gives his feedback to make the process more better for uh, output. He drives the business value. He is on the driver's seat as he understands the requirement from the customer, and he has the clarity on the priority from the customer. So he has full control to drive the business value for the project. Authorized to accept. What is authorized to accept? Means when a developer completes his task and he submit that to the product owner saying that the task is completed, product owner has the capacity to accept it or reject it. If he believes that the output is meeting the expectation, he can accept the story. If he believes the output is not meeting the expectation, he can reject the story. So he has the authority to accept. In certain cases, there are some deviation from the expectation written in the story, then the output presented by developer. In that scenario also, if product owner believes that that is most appropriate way to meet the output, in that situation also product owner has the authority to accept or reject. Product owner communicates the vision to the team. It is very basic, we have understood this point earlier as well. So he is the one who understand the expectation from the customer and disseminate that expectation in form of vision to the team. So team should have the very clear pathway to understand how we are going to start working on the project and in how many sprint we are going to deliver what. So when all the sprint gets over, what will be the final output. So that's how product owner make sure that the vision is communicated to the team. So always the work towards the development and the expected outcome is aligned. Product owner manages stakeholders and interest as he is the customer facing person. So definitely he has to make sure that the stakeholder and all the parties who are associated with the project, their interests are taken care of, and any deviation, any uh, conflict from any of the stakeholder, that has to be managed by product owner. Product owner collaborate with the team and Scrum Master to ensure continuous flow of requirement. So we have the product backlog. Product owner discusses the product backlog with the development team. They get involved in the sprint planning and then decide how many stories will be delivered on sprint, any given sprint. While the sprint is on, product owner has to make sure that we have enough story in the pipeline in the backlog which are sufficient enough to be picked up in the upcoming sprint. So once the first sprint gets over, so before starting the next sprint, we should have sufficient story in pipeline so that the continuous flow of requirement is maintained. If the sprint one gets over and we don't have enough stories for second sprint, in that case it will be some waste of time to work on the stories and make sure that the stories are enough for the whole available team. So that's why continuous flow of requirement has to be maintained and product owner is responsible for that. So that's all about product owner. The second pillar of Scrum team is a Scrum Master. Scrum Master is a change agent. He is the key person to drive the agile transformation in the project. He is the one who understands the agile principles, coaches the team to follow the agile principles, agile values, and meet the customer benefit. So he works as a change agent. Scrum Master creates transparency. He has to make sure that team is following empirism principle, making sure that if any of the information is available with one of the team member, then that information is discussed with everyone and everyone is aware about that information. So he has to make sure that transparency is maintained at and at any given point of time the entire team should be aware of everything in the project. That is what it means by creating transparency. Scrum Master encourage collaboration across team, not only Scrum team. When you are working in the corporate environment, there can be several other teams where your Scrum team has to work with for any of the dependencies. So he has to make sure that the collaboration is on and team is working with alignment of other teams so that the expectation what we have to meet the output of the story is being maintained. The collaboration has to be maintained. He radiates information and reduce risk. Now, see, this is one very basic principle for risk management. If everyone is aware about all the information, then this itself reduces the risk. Most of the time, we are taking risk by hiding some information with us. If we have that information and we know that this is going to cause some kind of issue with our work, then sooner we discuss this with the other team member and scrum master or anyone else with whom you are comfortable. You have to discuss that. If any of such information is there with the scrum master, then definitely scrum master role is to radiate that information to everyone in the scrum team so that team can work on the risk management and can reduce the risk. Scrum Master facilitate all Scrum ceremonies and meetings. So we know there are four Scrum ceremonies: sprint planning, daily Scrum, sprint review, and sprint retrospective. And any other meetings happens apart from these meetings, everything will be facilitated by Scrum Master. Supports team in removing impediment. We know that in the daily Scrum call, we talk about impediment if anyone is facing that, and we also know that that impediment will not be discussed in the call to resolve, but an impediment will be noted by a scrum master, and after the call gets over he will be working with the respective team member to resolve, and whatever is needed to do that from a scrum master side or from the developer side, that will be done. But the role of helping the team to resolve impediment is the key role of a scrum master, where he will be involved on a day-to-day basis. Scrum master guides continuous improvement of the team performance. So this is one of the scrum ceremony, sprint retrospective. So when you do the sprint retrospective, the overall objective is to develop the improvement into the team's performance. By doing what? By figuring out what went well, what did not go well, and based on the discussion, certain action point can be agreed upon and that can be followed, which will bring continuous improvement in the sprint to sprint cycle in the project. Scrum Master drive towards the self-managed team. This is the culture which has to be driven in the team. Scrum Master understand agile principles, agile values, and we know that self-managed team is the key characteristics of a Scrum team. So Scrum Master role is to keep coaching the team whenever he sees any deviation or he sees some kind of mentoring is needed. But the overall objective should be to develop the self-managed team. Scrum Master protects the team because he has all the information available with him, and he is keep on interacting with all the team member on a day-to-day basis. So whenever there is a risk arises, whenever there is a communication has to be done with other stakeholders, he makes sure that those things are covered, and he always protect the team, whether it is escalation or it is just normal communication. Scrum Master improve stakeholder relationship. This is very straightforward because he makes sure that all the deliverables, all the communication, all the two-way communication is there established in the team. And if the communication is very, very clear among all the parties involved, then itself it improves the relationship among the stakeholders. So these are the key characteristics of the second pillar of a Scrum team, which is Scrum Master. Third pillar of a Scrum team, the development team. Development team is the actual people who are working for the development, who are actually coding on the system and developing the software. So the requirement or the characteristics of the development team is very, very straightforward, which does not require too much of explanation. So let's go through one by one. Knowledgeable. Definitely, whatever is the area of their expertise they are working for, they should be knowledgeable in that. Commitment is one of the key behavioral aspect expected from any of the development team member. Development team has to be cross-functional. Means when the team is being formed, whatever is the technical stack required for the development, we have to make sure that the development team is having all those technical stack as their skill set, so that team can work among themselves without having dependency on anyone else. Empowerment and increased focus. Development team has given the full authority because the whole principle of agile is driving towards self-managed team, and self-managed team itself gives them the empowerment and worked with the increased focus for the development. They have to take ownership and responsibility of the work. Until they feel the accountable for the development of the work what they are doing, we will not be able to meet the objective of agile. So whatever task they are taking, whatever story they are taking, and they are working on that, they have to take the full ownership and responsibility of their work. They have to be very, very communicative. The more communication we do, the lesser risk we have. They have to be collaborative. Definitely the Scrum team itself, like they are self-managed team, and without collaboration, self-managed team, cross-functional team cannot work together. The collaboration is the key aspect of development team. They are self-organized. They are able to figure out on their own what is the work they are supposed to do, what, when, and how. Discipline with agile practices. When we are working in the agile methodology, Scrum framework, then certain principle guidelines are there which needs to be followed. So discipline has to be there in the culture, which is expected from development team. Highlight risk, impediment, and update effort regularly. Any risk, what they foresee, what they see, they come across, they should be highlighting. If they are having any impediment, blocker, they should be highlighting to Scrum Master, and with the help of Scrum Master, they should be able to resolve that, and they should be updating the effort regularly. So if they are working on any of the story, which is, let's assume it is for 4 days, and they have worked for 1 day, then work day of effort has to be logged. So when anyone in the team sees that particular story, will communicate the message to that the team member that out of 4 day, 1 day of task is completed, and 3 days of task is left over. So updating effort is also equally important. So these are the key characteristics which are expected from the development team. Thank you so much for watching this video on Scrum Team, the characteristic of Scrum Team, and the three pillar of Scrum Team: Product Owner, Scrum Master, and Development Team. I hope you like the video. If you like the video, press the like button. Please subscribe to the video, and thank you so much. And let's meet again in my next video. Thank you.